What really happened on the night it sank? Imagine boarding the most luxurious ship ever built. A ship so magnificent that newspapers called it practically unsinkable. On board were some of the richest people in the world, families chasing new opportunities, and crew members beginning what they believed would be an ordinary voyage across the Atlantic. But only a few days later, one collision with an iceberg would transform this engineering marvel into one of the most famous maritime disasters in history. More than a century has passed since that cold April night. Yet the story of the Titanic continues to fascinate millions of people around the world. Was the disaster simply bad luck? Could it have been prevented? And what really happened during the final hours of the ship? Today, we journey back to 1912 to uncover the facts, the people, and the lasting lessons behind one of history's most unforgettable tragedies. This is the story of the Titanic. Welcome to Hidden Histories. Every secret has a story ... and every story deserves to be told. Chapter 1. The Dream of the Titanic. At the beginning of the 20th century, the world was changing rapidly. Steamships connected continents, global trade expanded, and millions of people crossed the Atlantic every year. Shipping companies competed fiercely to build faster, larger, and more luxurious ocean liners. Among them was White Star Line, which envisioned a new class of ships that would redefine ocean travel. Construction of the Titanic began in 1909 at the Harland and Wolff shipyard. The ship measured nearly 269 meters in length and was among the largest moving objects ever built by humans at the time. It featured elegant dining rooms, a grand staircase, luxurious cabins, electric lighting, elevators, and advanced engineering. To many, the Titanic represented the peak of human achievement. Confidence in modern technology was at an all-time high. Some newspapers and members of the public described the ship as practically unsinkable. Whether that reputation was fully deserved or not, it became part of the Titanic's legend. On the 10th of April 1912, the ship departed on its maiden voyage, carrying passengers from many different backgrounds. For some, it was a luxurious holiday. For others, it was the beginning of a new life in America. Chapter 2. Life on board. The Titanic was more than a ship. It was a floating city. First-class passengers enjoyed elegant restaurants, libraries, luxurious lounges, and impressive staircases. Wealthy businessmen, prominent families, and well-known figures traveled in remarkable comfort. Meanwhile, second-class passengers enjoyed accommodations that were considered excellent for the era. Below them, third-class passengers, many of them immigrants, traveled with hopes of building better lives across the Atlantic. Although social classes were clearly separated, everyone aboard shared one destination. During the first 4 days, the voyage appeared calm and uneventful. Meals were served, music filled the halls, conversations flowed, and children played along the decks. No one imagined that beneath the cold Atlantic waters, danger was quietly waiting. Several nearby ships reported ice in the region ahead. These warnings reached the Titanic, but the voyage continued. The ship maintained a speed that many believed would keep it on schedule. As night approached on the 14th of April 1912, the sea became unusually calm. The air turned bitterly cold, and the moonless sky made it difficult to spot objects on the horizon. Within a few hours, history would change forever. Chapter 3. The Iceberg. The evening of the 14th of April 1912 began like many others. Passengers enjoyed dinner, music, and conversation, unaware that the North Atlantic ahead was filled with drifting ice. Throughout the day, several nearby ships had sent warnings about icebergs in the area. These messages reached the Titanic's wireless operators, though not all were delivered promptly to the bridge as they balanced operational priorities and passenger communications. As darkness fell, the conditions became unusually dangerous. The sea was calm. There was no moon. Without waves breaking against the base of an iceberg, it became much harder to spot one in time. High above the deck, two lookouts searched the horizon. Then, at approximately 11:40 p.m., one of them saw a dark shape directly ahead. Iceberg, right ahead. The warning rang out immediately. The bridge ordered evasive action. The ship began to turn, but it was too late. The Titanic brushed against the iceberg, damaging several compartments below the waterline. At first, many passengers barely noticed the impact. Some felt only a slight vibration. Others continued their conversations as though nothing had happened. But below deck, seawater was already rushing into the ship. The damage exceeded what the vessel had been designed to withstand. Within minutes, the ship's chief designer, Thomas Andrews, assessed the situation. his conclusion was devastating. The Titanic would sink. Chapter 4, The Final Hours. As the reality became clear, the crew began preparing the lifeboats. Many passengers struggled to believe that such a massive ship could actually sink. Some hesitated to leave the warmth and apparent safety of the vessel. Others followed the crew's instructions with quiet determination. Lifeboats began to descend into the freezing Atlantic. In several cases, early lifeboats left with empty seats not because there were enough boats for everyone, but because many people still believed there was no immediate danger. As time passed, the ship's bow sank lower into the ocean. The angle of the decks became steeper. Panic gradually spread as passengers realized the seriousness of the situation. Crew members worked to launch the remaining lifeboats while musicians continued to perform, helping to calm those still on board. In the early hours of the 15th of April 1912, the impossible became reality. The Titanic's stern lifted high above the water. Then, the great ship disappeared beneath the icy Atlantic. More than 1,500 people lost their lives that night, while around 700 survived, rescued hours later by RMS Carpathia. It remains one of the deadliest peacetime maritime disasters in history, but the sinking of the Titanic would do more than shock the world. It would transform maritime safety forever. Chapter 5, The Aftermath. As dawn broke over the North Atlantic on the 15th of April 1912, the scale of the disaster became painfully clear. The ocean was calm once again, but floating among the wreckage were lifeboats carrying survivors who had witnessed one of history's greatest maritime tragedies. Hours later, the RMS Carpathia arrived and rescued those who had escaped the sinking. Families waited anxiously for news. Newspapers around the world rushed to report what had happened. At first, some reports were inaccurate, with early headlines suggesting that everyone on board had survived. As more information emerged, the truth shocked the world. More than 1,500 people had lost their lives. The tragedy prompted major investigations in both the United States and the United Kingdom. Investigators examined the ship's design, the number of lifeboats, emergency procedures, wireless communication, and how ice warnings had been handled. The disaster led to sweeping improvements in maritime safety. Ships were required to carry enough lifeboats for everyone on board. Radio operators were expected to maintain more consistent emergency communication. International cooperation also increased to monitor icebergs and improve safety across the North Atlantic. The lessons learned from the Titanic helped make sea travel safer for future generations. Chapter 6, A Legacy That Lives On. More than a century has passed since the Titanic disappeared beneath the waves, yet its story continues to capture the imagination of people around the world. In 1985, the wreck of the Titanic was discovered deep beneath the North Atlantic by a team led by Robert Ballard. Resting nearly 3,800 meters below the surface, the ship had become a silent memorial to those who never returned home. Today, historians, engineers, and scientists continue to study the wreck, learning more about the ship, the disaster, and the people who were on board. The Titanic has inspired countless books, documentaries, museum exhibitions, and films. But beyond the headlines and the legends, the Titanic reminds us of something deeply human. It reminds us that technology, no matter how advanced, cannot eliminate every risk. It reminds us that confidence should always be balanced with preparation. And it reminds us that behind every historical event are real people, each with dreams, families, and stories of their own. The Titanic was more than a ship. It was a symbol of ambition, innovation, hope, and tragedy. Though it sank beneath the Atlantic Ocean, its story continues to sail across generations. The lessons of that cold April night still echo through modern maritime safety and remain a powerful reminder that history is never just about the past. It is also about what we choose to learn from it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe to Hidden Histories for more journeys through history, engineering, and the remarkable events that shaped our world. Until next time, every secret has a story ... and every story deserves to be told.